You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Dan Kofal, radio host out of Dallas, about to be syndicated via GCNlive.com, is our guest. I've been ranting here. You've got the last 5 minutes. You've got the floor. What do you think about what's happening with the EU, with Greece? What's the next big shoe to drop?
Well, the reason that Greece is such a problem is not that it's such a huge economy, but the EU is not designed to have countries come and go from it. The Greeks are really saying, to heck with you about your debt and your austerity. We don't plan to honor the debt. Well, the problem is once Greece says we're not going to honor the debt, then Italy says the same thing. Then Spain says the same thing. And now you have this cascading
Then
effect.
Portugal, then Ireland.
That's it. And you have this cascading
And the Germans
effect.
aren't going to sit there and put up with this forever.
No, and the euro, as we know it, will diminish in significance, which is kind of good for the U.S., but that's the reason that the Greeks are so important. And this new Greek government, they call themselves leftists. They look a lot like people from the right years ago saying we're not going to put up with this forced austerity because it's not in our best interest. Even if the Federal Reserve puts up the money for the Greeks, people will find that out. They'll know, and they can't continue to back Greece forever. So this is a real, no kidding problem that can and probably will cascade through. And the problem is, real quick on the derivatives. The derivatives are so dangerous and so damaging. There's not a nickel behind those derivatives. It's like you going to a crap table in Las Vegas and saying, I want to put $50 on a hard 8, but you don't put any money down. Well, that's what derivatives are like. You're making bets without any equity behind the bets. So
the only equity is the faith and credit of the United States, i.e. the taxpayer.
Well, Steve, you've been right for a long time when it says that the U.S. has now agreed to back $700 billion worth of derivatives. When you first said that, I had to spend some time researching that to figure out where you got that from. And then I saw the introduction of the language in that bill that said that financial institutions can now invest from their banks, which are guaranteed by the FDIC, which means those $700 trillion worth of derivatives are guaranteed by the FDIC and us. You were right on the money, and that's terrifying.
Well, I was just going off what a bunch of financial experts who were reading the bill said, so I was just going off. I could go to the subsection of the bill and see they were doing that. I mean, look at how Obama now wants to take over the education IRAs to protect them and tax them. I mean, if we let them do that, they're going to go after everything. That's the plan.
Absolutely. 401ks, IRAs. It's been in Congress since about 2005 when Democrats first started to make it known that we're not worried about the debt because it's just coincidental that there happens to be just about the same size of the U.S. debt, roughly right now, $19 trillion. There happens to be roughly $20 trillion in 401ks and IRAs. Well, what a wonderful coincidence.
Which is the only place you can keep a little bit of after-tax money and maybe have a retirement. They're going to rob the very baby boomers and people that are putting them in power, while the Democrats constantly claim that it's conservatives that want to loot Social Security when they want to loot the private Social Security.
Well, I'm just shocked that you'd use the phrase rob, because they're not going to rob you, Alex. They're going to take everything you've got, and then they're going to turn right around and give you a piece of paper that says, hold this piece of paper for 30 years, we'll pay you 3% interest, and hopefully you'll get your money back because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. They're going to give you that piece of paper back, even after they've taken all of your assets, all of your hard assets, all of your paper assets. So, you know, I'm trying to be a little humorous there, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. They're robbing America.
Well, Dan, I'd like to invite you down sometime when I'm out of town to co-host with David Knight or some of the other crew, and I really appreciate you being on with us. Thank you so much.
I enjoy it, Alex. I've listened to you for years. You're just a pleasure to listen to, my
Oh,
friend.
please stop it. You're a pleasure to listen to. You're awesome. All right, folks. That's it with Dan Kofal. We've got a link to his website up on Infowars.com. We'll be right back on the other side. I'm going to give the number out, cover news, and take your calls. I'm Alex Jones. Never forget, if you're watching this transmission, you are the resistance.
Had very
In the Fed, ladies and gentlemen, talk about breaking the law. Well, what if you say that you're above the law and that Congress just has nothing to say, period, on the power of the purse, which in the Constitution is the main power of the Congress, the purse strings. Elizabeth Warren, who the Democrats praise as this pure as the driven snow, super Hillary who will defeat the big mega banks and redistribute the wealth and save us all, a la the Davos plan. Elizabeth Warren opposes congressional meddling, close quote, of audit the Fed bill. It would appear the powers that be are getting nervous. That's right. Yesterday, Fed Governor Jerome Powell stepped up to the central bank's push against the term congressional efforts to extend political influence over monetary policy, calling them misguided and in violent conflict with the facts. Today, we have Elizabeth Warren, the senator, trying to sound supportive of transparency, but proclaiming that she opposes Rand Paul's audit the Fed bill because it promotes congressional meddling in the Fed's monetary policy decisions. The Fed's monetary policy decisions. Desperate to appear a huge opponent of Wall Street and the Fed, Warren begins, as Bloomberg reports, by criticizing it, that she strongly supports greater congressional oversight over the Fed's regulatory and supervisory responsibilities. Then retraces and hinders the efforts to bring transparency. Warren, quote, opposes current versions of the Fed audit legislation because it promotes congressional meddling in Fed's monetary policies, according to email statements from Warren's office. Such meddling risks politicizing, quoting her, those decisions and may have dangerous implications for the financial stability and the health of the global economy. She goes on to say there's dangerous implications for financial stability and the health of the global economy. This is from someone who supported the Obamacare Act, the Affordable Care Screwjob Act that at least doubles your prices, creates giant death panels, and they admit is a transfer of wealth. But thank God the American people are so stupid to, quote, Gruber, because they wrote it to confuse the public. And the case for killing Granny, 1 week after they passed Obamacare, Newsweek came out and said, yeah, we're going to kill your grandmother. Guess what? It was in there, suckers. And Zuckerberg says the same thing. You know, my users are dumb effers. Quote, close quote. They think they can trust us. See, it's the reveling in the slavery. Just like Brian Williams is up there. Oh, yeah, I got shot down by an RPG in a helicopter. Oh, I meant I was flying right behind it. Oh, I meant blah, 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 an hour and a half before. I saw dead bodies all over the place floating by at Katrina. I was there. Not true. Lies, lies, lies. Lies, lies. In fact, can we cue some ministry up for the intro of the next segment? The lies song? Because this is lies. And so I want to ask the listeners, where do we start or stop if Brian Williams thought about doing a skit? Everybody's making jokes. You know, Obama said you didn't build that, so everybody made these memes of kids building blocks or people cutting their yard or somebody, you know, writing a book. You didn't do that. You didn't build that. Well, now they're putting out all these different memes that Brian Williams was with the 300 at Gallipoli. Brian Williams actually wrote the speech for Martin Luther King. In fact, he was Martin Luther King. Continuing, he was actually there with Babe Ruth whenever he knocked all those balls, you know, out of the park. He did everything. And because this has now happened, he's been exposed. It is endangering Hillary because she pulled the exact same type of scam. So there we were at this bridge, and Frodo says to me, here, you take the ring. He also has the ring of power. Of course, if he mentions that at a public school, he'll be kicked out of school or arrested. Brian Williams also said it was an honor to be the first man to walk on the moon. It wasn't Neil Armstrong. He won his 5th Wimbledon championship. I figured it was time to give someone else a chance, Brian Williams. He was also Mary Lou Retton. President Lincoln.